enjoy watching Arsenal play again. And I think that's a great thing for Arsenal have kind of backed him. But it's going to be a little bit more time until he actually gets what he wants. But this weekend's game is going to be big for him, because if he can get a kind of way, I think it's going to do his confidence a lot of happiness. But I don't know, Mourinho may just pull one of his tricks out of his bag.
Well, that's the thing. If it wasn't kind of a derby like this, I think if you look at the two teams, you couldn't but think that Arsenal are playing better, look better, and really should be kind of pulling Spurs apart. But just because of the nature of it, it's one of those games that almost kind of falls into Mourinho's hands, because usually there's always the debate Mourinho where can we not see better football from him, or does it always have to be so kind of defensive? Whereas this is a game that actually suits him to be defensive, because we know how Arteta is going to set up. So it'll kind of suit Mourinho to just kind of sit in, dig deep, frustrate them, and try and snatch them. And he'll probably, Mourinho, he'll probably revel in the idea of kind of frustrating a kind of like a younger manager with all these ideas as well. So that's one thing that could play into Spurs' hand.
The thing is that when you watch the Leicester game, Leicester were trying to press. Someone like Dani Ceballos was very good, because like he would get the ball and he's the one who can play. Arsenal are not creating enough from midfield. But in this instance, because they were pressing Arsenal were able to pass it around, get through, and then we saw with Dani Ceballos for the first goal, fantastic pass through Saka to Aubameyang. And it's going to be interesting to see if Mourinho sits off, because the problem Arsenal have had is trying to break that down with the creativity from the midfield. So he's probably going to try and frustrate Arsenal.
Let's see if we can get any hints then. Let's hear from Mikel Arteta and Jose Mourinho.
I think a derby has a completely different context to what is happening with the current form or anything like that. I have huge respect for Jose, for what he's trying to do there, and we know to go there and get a win, we're going to have to do everything really, really well, and I'm expecting a really tough game.
I'm guessing this is a must-win if you're going to try and reach fifth, if that's your realistic target for the end of the season.
We talked since the virus that we had to win every game. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to do that, but we're in a good run, and we will try to go there and get the 3 points again.
Look, I met Mikel when Mikel was a kid in Barcelona. I was there with Mr. Van Gaal. Mikel was a kid, really, really a kid. So I know him from there, and when you know these kids at this age, time flies, but in the end, you always look at them as the kid that you have a great feeling for. When you become a Pep assistant, in a funny way, I start calling him every time I meet him, Mr., not Mikel anymore, Mr. So we had always a laugh on this. And of course, I like him very, very much. I hope everything goes well for him in his career. But I have to admit that in this moment he is in a rival club, a club that fights in this moment for the same as we fight, which is an European position. And I cannot wish him good in this situation.
There's a very clear way of playing, a clear way of how he managed games. I think clean sheets obviously are a big thing that he wants to do, but his teams, don't forget, they always score a lot of goals. And they've been really successful, and they've been able to win titles because of that as well. And as well, I think in a long period, they have a lot of injuries, so he hasn't had the chance to be consistent as well with his team, and that's a big disadvantage that they have. And I know that he's done it. I know people have worked with him, and he always finds a way to be successful, and I'm sure he will do it again.
Even Arsenal can't get the Zoom backgrounds quite right there. And Mikel Arteta just blurring a bit around the edges. Look, this is a great time for Arsenal, isn't it? I know it's not perfect, but at least it's something to look forward to. They're fun to watch. They're scoring goals.
Yeah, it was really good to watch the Leicester game recently, and the Wolves game. But like when Mikel was coming, one thing I knew that he would do is that he would coach our players to a certain level, simply because he won't have the capability of buying his way out of trouble at Arsenal. And there has been change slowly happening at Arsenal with what they've been doing. And once he does get into a situation where he gets the players he wants, you can see that something's happening. with them. He's bringing through the young players. I think Aubameyang will sign, and you know, it's one of those situations now where it's going to take time, but we have to be patient. Like I say, the midfield, we need more from the midfield, and it's something that he's trying to sort out. But you know, it's slowly happening, and I'm just pleased that we're going into this game with Tottenham confident and playing well, because Brighton a little while back.
It's not just the performances here, though.
Yeah.
It's the fact that they're against Wolves and Leicester, who are above Arsenal in the table. It's the opposition as well.
Yeah, and it was good for confidence to beat those teams, and so going into the derby with Spurs obviously playing Bournemouth and not even having a shot. You know what I mean? You have to say that Harry Kane, who is kryptonite to us, you know, he's somebody that he only needs half a chance. So I believe that if we could start like it did against Leicester and really put them to the sword, it could be a good day for Arsenal.
Harry Kane does have a good record. It's 10-10 against Arsenal. However, on the evidence, I mean, we're talking about the fact that this game might suit Jose Mourinho, but it feels as though everything around Spurs is just very flat. Even if he does set up defensively, it's going to be difficult to get that effort level's probably not the right expression, but that digging in from Tottenham when it all just feels so lethargic.
Yeah, and that's the frustrating thing, because we know Spurs is going through a change, and we know that they need some more players, but even the players that he's got in there, they look sluggish and slow. Like Son, for example. I mean, he just usually just runs all day. He just doesn't seem himself.
Yeah.
You know, and when you get players like that who are kind of helped Mourinho out, especially when he first came in, he was the only one kind of scoring and all that. They're not doing it now. Like I said, I feel for Spurs, but it's a derby, and anything can happen in a derby. I'm sorry to say. You can play all the most beautiful football in the world, but it just takes one chance, and Spurs has that one chance player in Kane to just get up there, and he could limp up there and fall over and hit his shoulder. Could be VAR, but it may go in this time, you know. But for me, I just want it to be a good game, you know, a good game, because this was one of the games that I would look for when I used to play and want to sit down and watch as well, because there was a lot of feistiness in it.
Yeah, I mean, it is a game that people want to sit down and watch, the North London derby, usually. And Spurs have always been a team that people have wanted to sit down and watch because they've always been entertaining. That's not there at the moment,
they're
is
not
it?
really daring to do at the moment, are they?
No.
And that's my fear. I mean, as Harry mentioned there, it would have been a game you look forward to, but my big fear for this one is that because of the way Arsenal are playing and because of the way Spurs are playing, it's going to be, Mourinho's going to try and completely stifle and subdue the game, and it could be just a dreary nil all, where you're going to suck the life out of it. Because that's kind of almost what Spurs need to do. In fact, there's an argument that's maybe the only way they can compete in this game, because if they try and play football against Arsenal, I think Arsenal could pick them off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Going to be in. Oh, go on.
I just don't get it, though. I don't know how like a team can, from years of playing a certain way, all of a sudden, I know it's a manager that's come in and he could change a few things, but the players are still got to take responsibility to go, hey, we can still get the ball down. I mean, they're not going to forget how to play football, you know, especially when they're off and all that, and then they've come back. It just frustrates me that I think a lot of Spurs players as well need to stand up and be counted for.
I think, but Harry, you say that, but I think that Pochettino, who wanted to freshen the place up, you know, this is the reason why in the end he probably lost his job. Those players were going that way. They were getting tired. They were getting sluggish. A few of them had to move on. And then you bring in a manager like Mourinho, and then you're seeing a lot of that same old dissension in there. All of a sudden, he's digging players out. The players look sluggish. He's blaming the players. I've not got this. I've not got that. It doesn't seem like there's a good atmosphere around there at the moment, Kels. That's what's happening for me.
There would be if they beat Arsenal, though.
Yeah, I know.
We'll see what happens in the North London